My philosophy on the counting is, so many people, they make 30 days, 90 days, they relapse, and it feels like a complete loss of everything. In my program, I encourage counting because with a caveat, and I do what like a 0/ number amount. And so you'll start your 0/1 day, 2 day, hopefully 30 days, your 0/30 days. If you relapse on day 31, you're 1/31, 1/32. You keep going because you realize if you make another 10 days, you realize, Jesus, one relapse in 40 days? Wow, that's better than the majority of the population out there, as opposed to resorting back to zero. And then at some point in time, if my guys, they'll start putting another counter, it would be 1/40, and they'll start another one of 0/4. But having accomplished one relapse in multiple days, it's not a discredit. In fact, is what it is. It's an eye opener for you as a magnifying glass. Again, where did I slip? Where did I give up on? So a relapse is that opportunity to say what part of the system wasn't working, and where can I refocus, or what else do I need to add to it?
Yeah, and what I teach people is saliency, like kind of going back to what Noah said, is that saliency is the idea of the thing that feels the most meaningful to you and that you can apply to your own life. And in just about everything, saliency is a very big factor in being successful in accomplishing things in your life. So I try to encourage people, if counting's working for you, count. But relapses are the biggest opportunity that you have to figure out where there was a breakdown. Either you did not put something into place yet, because relapses tend to happen up front. So if relapses happen in that first month, extend yourself some grace, realizing you're putting your program together for yourself. But what broke down? Because relapses, people tell me all the time, it came out of the blue. And I'm like, no, it didn't. It was minutes, hours, days, weeks in the making. But now if you ever relapse 150, 200 days later, at least in my program, you should have had the opportunity to learn all the pieces that you need to put in place and start putting defense and offense in place. So you should be much less susceptible to relapse. And if you relapse then, you let your foundation break down, figure it out, and figure out what went awry and what you need to evaluate and then change. And, if you change something, you'll be in good shape. But it's opportunity. But if I'm going to say one more thing, relapse does not have to happen, because I know a lot of people just expect it to happen. And then it goes back to cognition and language. If you tell yourself, oh, I'm going to relapse, then you've got people who are on this relapse ride. And, the way I talk about relapses is that it's on those new neural pathways. A relapse is a rock in the road. So if you start a new pathway and you trip over a rock, then you learn, why did I trip over that rock? And if you keep going and you trip over another rock, you're like, what else do I need to learn? But if you're 5 miles down that pathway and you've been tripping over rocks every inch, you don't know how to traverse this pathway.
Right. Yeah. One thing. Go ahead, Eric.
I've done every conceivable way of counting to help myself and my clients. And of course, in the beginning, it was the 12-step way where, if you made it a day, you get a coin. You made it a week, you get a coin. And then inevitably, someone in the program or myself in the 12 steps, you have a slip or relapse. And in the 12-step program, if you make 30 days, then you can chair a meeting. And so if you make it to 30 days and then it's the 31st day and you slip, then you go back to zero. You go back to getting your one chip coin. You can no longer chair a meeting. So the long story short, I do not advocate counting. I think it is disempowering. Now, in the very beginning, I think there is some merit, but if you're going to, I have a couple different ways to count. One is just to set it and forget it. If you're like that old infomercial, I don't know if you remember those old infomercial. There was some kind of cooking device. You set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I suggest with clients is, it's going to be unlikely, if they've made it so far that you're going to have a slippery relapse. So just, you can mark that on your calendar, but you don't have to come, oh, I made it a week. I made it a month. I made it a year. It's time to celebrate. Oh, everybody, I didn't do that. I didn't do it for a year. I didn't do something for a year. Let's have a party. I don't encourage that at all. I encourage to kind of set it and forget it is one way. Another way is like Bill was talking about, is if you do make it 10 days, let's say, and then on your 11th day you slip, but then the next day you're able to get back on, then that's day 11. You keep counting, because just because you have a slip or even a relapse does not negate all the success that you've had.
Yeah. As Trish says, you learn to start looking at this road, the path, the things, if you keep running over it. And again, more meat that I want to give on this. My philosophy is also any action that's going to happen, you have an opportunity to be either disempowered by it or empowered by it. Mm-hmm. And how you can pull yourself out of it on a relapse is, rather than woe is me, why is this happening, is to be empowered, is take control of that situation and immediately start looking at the past. And my program, and I think all of us will have everybody do this, is start identifying your triggers early. And you'll start realizing that if you think your trigger happened 10 minutes ago, it could actually happen 4 hours ago, 5 hours ago, the evening before. And when you start, what I tell people, become hyper focused on the actual original trigger that set this thing going, you are now empowered. You forgot about the relapse. You're now examining all these certain things. Is it that I walk into the house and nobody was home? That's a trigger. Did I walk in? I saw my laptop. There's a trigger. The temperature is 76 degrees. That could be a trigger. So I have people be hypersensitive to, if they have a relapse, go back and mark everything about that scenario, that moment, and go back 4, 5, 6, 7 hours and retrace everything and document what was going on.